2026 is shaping up to be one of the best years for gaming. We have so many big games coming out this year, be it GTA, a bunch of other surprises, Fable, Forza Horizon, all these games coming out, and yet there just seems to be one that is getting a lot of attention and a lot of hype surrounding it, and that's got to be Crimson Desert. I feel like this game has been on everybody's radar for the last 5 years since they announced it so long ago. Pearl Abyss is the studio behind this, and every time I see this game, I think to myself, is this real? Is this fake? Is this ambition that the studio has sustainable for a game that looks this insane when you kind of have these deep dives into it? Well, I kind of want to go into it because it's one of those games that has me extremely intrigued and something that I can't wait personally to get my hands on because I want to see if this game is real. So we're going to dive deep into it because Pearl Abyss, the studio behind this game, just released a 15-minute video about the game, kind of the factions, everything surrounding it, and of course, the world and the mechanics attached to it, because everybody has been asking, what is this game about? So let's get into this because this game looks absolutely phenomenal. All right, so you know the drill. If you want to get updates on all the gaming news coming out, big time games coming out, and of course, all of the journalism and news stories coming out from the games industry, hit that like button and that subscribe button. It helps out the channel more than you know. All right, so I just want to jump into this. Crimson Desert is one of those biggest games that we're going to be seeing in 2026, and it's shaping up to be one of the biggest games we might see in this entirety of generation of gaming because it absolutely looks crazy ambitious. And what I mean by that is that Pearl Abyss is a studio that has built out MMOs and all these other types of games. And when they announced Crimson Desert, that's what they announced it for, as an MMO. Yet over the last several years, they have said that it's kind of shaped itself into something different. They have completely changed the way they want the game to be perceived, which is now a single player experience. I know what people are thinking. There are a lot of games that we have felt that were first created for multiplayer or MMO players and then transferred into single player games, and it didn't go well. There's a few examples out there that we can talk about, but I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on what Crimson Desert and the developers have done to change the kind of perspective they have of this game, because you got to remember, they made Black Desert Online, which was a game that did pretty well and was successful, but didn't have the crazy engagement that people thought it was when it was announced. Everybody thought this was going to be the next big MMO and the MMO to kill all other MMOs, and it didn't do that. So what does that mean for Crimson Desert? A game that has multiple videos out there, gameplay reveals, everything about it, and not to mention boss fights out there for people to consume. Well, that means that the studio has ambition and leadership to maybe see this game, to maybe meet that hype that everybody has put upon this game, because it does seem that everybody's looking forward to playing it. This isn't one of those things that everybody's negative about it. It's more that they're just really eager to jump into the game. And that's what this article mentions in this. Crimson Desert is reaching RPG hype levels we haven't seen since Starfield. It's hard to describe Crimson Desert, the upcoming open world RPG from Pearl Abyss, without breaking into a long list of other popular games. A newly released 15-minute overview trailer that's making the rounds will likely remind you of titles like The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, God of War, The Witcher, Shadow of Mordor, Uncharted, Skyrim, you name it. It's hard to say what makes Crimson Desert stand apart amid the Mount Rushmore of RPGs, but that isn't stopping people from declaring the game in its massive open world to be one of the most impressive things they've seen in recent memory. So I do have to agree. It does seem that Crimson Desert is like this hodgepodge of games put together, putting them all in this pot and trying to make an RPG that stands on its own, but yet kind of gives a lot of credit to the games that came before it. The one game that isn't mentioned there that I will say it reminds me of, and I know a lot of people might think I'm crazy, but it kind of reminds me of Elden Ring. I know, seems a little blasphemous to talk about that. But what I mean by that is that Elden Ring didn't really have this story-driven game. Elden Ring's magic was the world and the gameplay. That was the magic, is that you can go into the world, do what you want, find all these things. It didn't really direct you where to go. You made your own choices, and the developer gave the gamer the freedom to build their own adventure, so to speak, within Elden Ring. That's the way I felt Elden Ring made its money. It was magical, it was amazing, and they didn't dictate how you played. This is what Crimson Desert feels like. It feels like you're going to be dropped into a world. You go do what you want. Yeah, there's factions, there's characters, but there's so much to do in the world, they want you to decide how to play it. That's what I see from Crimson Desert. And if you look at all the gameplay and all the reveals, they show the world a lot. They show the landscape, how big it is, how expansive it is. And they talk about that a lot, about how this game is twice the size of Skyrim, and they want players to just go out there and do what they want. Now, I will give them credit. In the day and age that we've seen Highguard and all these other games drop where not a lot of people have played the game and they didn't really get user feedback on their games, this game is the complete opposite. It seems like a lot of people have played this game and a lot of people have questioned the game. They've questioned if this game is real, if everything that we're seeing is too good to be true, so to speak. So what did the developer do? They basically said, bet, go play the game. They put an hour of gameplay out there. They put another 15 minutes of previewing the game. They put multiple boss fights out there in videos. They basically showed the game as much as possible and got feedback from people to say how the game is being received from gamers that are playing it. And we have seen people that have played the game and talk about it and said, everything you've seen in those previews and those trailers, it's true. It happens. I've done it. We played the game and that's what it is. Now, is it going to be this insanely optimized game? I'm not too sure, but they are using proprietary software that they have, their own engine, to make this game as ambitious as they can. AKA, they're using a lot of the assets and the stuff that they built off that MMO, Black Desert, to help build this game. So they didn't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, to make this game as ambitious and big as they need it. They're just using assets and building off of that software they built. That's great. I think that a lot of studios don't do that. And one of the things I will say, a lot of the studios that do make these kind of massive games that people can't comprehend, like an Elden Ring, use proprietary software or in-house engines to help make that, because the studio working on them has worked close together for so long. That's what Elden Ring and From Software has done. They have created this engine over years of development, and Pearl Abyss has done the same. They've had Black Desert plus making this engine over years and creating Crimson Desert for the last several years. So when you see all this gameplay and all this crazy stuff happening in the game, it's there for a reason. It's because they have built this to do that. And one of the things I saw was there's a lot of particles in the game when you're fighting. All these particles flashing, and some gamers didn't like it. They said, man, this just seems like a fireworks show on display for me. I don't really care to see that. Pearl Abyss heard that, and you can turn that off in a setting. You can just turn off the particles. They've said that in an interview. One of the community managers said, you can turn that off because we heard feedback that some players didn't like it. That's the type of feedback they're getting. They're trying to make the best game for the people that will play this game. Not for everyone, but the gamers that are truly going to buy and play their game. They want to give it the best chance possible to be successful because they put a lot of money towards it. Now, that sounds all well and good. I kind of want to talk about a few things that I think look a little shaky on the ground. Number one is the story. The only real story trailer we got was at the beginning when they announced the game, when they said it was an MMO. That's the only thing we kind of got with characters and all of that. Everything else has been these kind of big boss fights or exploration and your character doing wild things that you didn't see in any other game. That's the type of stuff we've been fed with this game. It's just gameplay and the world. Hence why I said it looks a little bit like Elden Ring. Elden Ring doesn't have a lot of story to it. In Crimson Desert, I could be wrong, so far doesn't seem like it has a lot of story attached to it. Could I be wrong later on? Of course, but so far, even this last 15-minute video they brought out where they overview a lot of your character and a bunch of other stuff, plus announcing you can play as other characters, they still didn't go deep into the story or the lore of the world, and maybe they're trying to keep that close to the vest so people can experience that as they play. But overall, I do have to say, that's one of the critiques I have. I don't know much about the world or the characters or anything going on that's happening around what the story is in a single-player game. Maybe, like I said, the story could be something where you create it your own and they just want you to go into this world and experience things, kind of choose your own adventure, so to speak. But then I also see some cutscenes and some stuff going on in a ballroom and then characters in the street and all of that. And they don't really elaborate on that. They don't go into detail or go into a cutscene constantly with your character. It's mostly your character just going around the world fighting awesome looking bosses or looking at awesome looking ravines and looking at these cliffs and flying around the world. That's all we see. The next critique I would say is I think that sometimes the combat is a little too flashy. I enjoy that, but it also feels like they're going around and making this a big checkmark Ubisoft game, so to speak. And I know that's blasphemous to say, and people are going to probably attack me for that. But overall, I think that this game looks amazing, but sometimes it just looks like a Ubisoft game to me. You open a map, you see a checkmark, you see something around, you go over there and you figure it out. And next thing you know, you get like some type of item. There's some treasure maps that they just kind of showed, points of interest, going into caves, exploring caves, looking around. It really did remind me a lot of Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla to that extent for how expansive the world is and the activities within that world. Not really Witcher level or Baldur's Gate level where when you walk around every 20, 30 seconds, there's something going on and it turns into this awesome side quest. That's not what it looks like with Crimson Desert. It looks like you're going to be going around the world and again, creating your own adventure and not really having a amazing story attached to it. I hope I'm wrong in that. And if I am, I'll be the first one to admit it. If it has an amazing story with crazy side quests, then this game is more ambitious than anyone would have thought. It's not even close. It'd be one of the most ambitious and biggest games we've ever seen, especially if it has mocap actors, voice actors, all of this stuff attached to those side quests and main character quests. That would be insane. But so far, I haven't seen that. And maybe that'll come in the next couple of weeks as the game I think is releasing in a few months or maybe 2 months from now. So we'll see where that goes. But I do want to jump into some of the details that people are putting together on social media because the developers out there talking so much that people are starting to put the pieces together of what that is. Here's a post that I saw that I felt was pretty cool and kind of encompassed a lot of what they've brought together for the whole scene and everything they've put in their videos. Crimson Desert new details. Protagonist's name is Cliff MacDuff, leader of the Greyman's mercenary group. 2 additional characters playable later in the game. Content of Pywell is a landmass of 400 kilometers. Exploration includes horses, climbing, gliding, freaking dragons, and a missile-firing combat mech somehow. Players can fish, cook, arm wrestle, and go up in hot air balloons. Combat includes wrestling, grappling, swordsmanship, and a hand-to-hand combat. Advanced combos inspired by retro fighting games will be included. Ignite fire traps and use a wrist-mounted cord to swing like Spider-Man. World is open world with faction quests and fortress sieges. Pywell is twice the size of Skyrim's world. World is divided into 5 areas for exploration. Black Space Engine is proprietary. That is a lot to unpack. That is a whole bunch of stuff in the game that I feel like a lot of people might not even get to experience. And that's something that, again, why I think it feels a little bit like Elden Ring. There's so many things in Elden Ring that I feel that I've done in the game that someone else did not even get to experience, be it storylines or some other stuff that I found, underworld worlds and all this other stuff in caves where it was very optional and you could have missed it. That's what this game feels like, that you're going to be missing a lot of stuff and everybody's adventure is going to be wildly different. Like, I remember one of the best examples I can give is when you start playing an open world game like Skyrim or a Bethesda game. I talked to my friend after we played it all night and our experiences were wildly different. And the reason why it was wildly different is because at the beginning of the game, I turned right, he turned left. So that's how crazy those worlds are and how alive they are. Just because I went a different route, I had a completely different experience. That's the true magic of open worlds. I think Crimson Desert is going to have some of that. And they have all these mechanics attached to it that really make it stand out into something we've never seen. I mean, you can swing like Spider-Man. There's fortress sieges. There's all these things, faction quests. That's something that I'm really intrigued in. I want to know what these faction quests are. What kind of factions are they? Are they hostile? Are they friendly? Can I become friends with them? Can I earn their trust? Can I betray them? Those are the type of things that I want to see in an RPG because the whole point of an RPG is role-playing. I want to be able to make choices and have consequences to those choices later on. That's something I haven't seen in Crimson Desert. They haven't shown the consequence and the RPG mechanics that are usually associated with these type of open world games. And the developer has said this is a seamless open world. And that's great. But I need to know if it's a deep open world where there's a lot of consequences to my decisions, or if it's a shallow open world where the things I just do around the world is just to get a new sword or a new armor or all this stuff, and it doesn't really matter what happens to my character and the factions he interacts with. That's one thing I want to make sure that we understand, and I hope they kind of dive deep into that during these next few months where the game is about to release, because I feel like more people understand what the game is, like combat wise and world exploration. I feel like they got it. They're like, I understand what that is. Now they want to know, what is this world we're playing in? What's the whole point of it? How big is it? What's its lore? What's all the things attached to this that's going to make it more intriguing for my character to explore? And that's something I think the developers need to kind of jump into, is talk about all of those things within your world and what type of world we're going to be playing and living in technically, because that's what really divides a great RPG from an okay one. There's not a lot of RPGs like Elden Ring where you go in and the lore is kind of explained to you through reading and kind of the world, the way you look at it and making your own adventure. That's extremely hard to do. And I don't know any other game like Elden Ring that has been able to accomplish that. If Crimson Desert can do that, awesome. But I don't buy that it can. Most RPGs like Witcher 3 and all these other big ones that have been unanimously loved, and Baldur's Gate 3, is they make you fall in love with the world because you are interacting with so many different NPCs and so many characters within the world that it feels lived in. You feel like your choices matter. That's what I'm not seeing from Crimson Desert. And that's probably one of my biggest critiques, is that I want more of that stuff. And not to mention, I kind of want to see what they mean by 2 additional characters playable later in the game. Does that mean we get to kind of have different classes? Are you kind of going that MMO route where you have all these different classes coming in and you can play them and it feels wildly different and you can experience things a little bit differently? Do people treat that character different around the world? That's something that I feel like you can elaborate on. Now, I understand that people want to look at like it's twice the size of Skyrim and all of that. I don't really care about that. I don't care how big a world is. I want something that's in depth. I want a world that feels awesome and lived in, and there's so many cool things that I want to keep exploring. That's what I want, because Elden Ring is the best game I've probably ever played when it comes to single player games. I loved every minute of it. I have over 200 to 300 hours in that game, and I enjoyed it so much because the world felt so lived in, and every nook and cranny I looked at, there was something bigger in there that I didn't see coming. Something huge that I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm watching this and I'm realizing how big this world is. That's what I think Crimson Desert is going to have to hit on, is that sense of awe, that sense of exploration, because it's only going to be so much time before a gamer just constantly goes to a new siege or goes to a new thing, kills a new boss, and then moves on. There needs to be that depth to it. And so, is this game real? Yeah, I do think so. I think that this game has the potential to be that ambitious, because the developers behind it understand and know how to scope their game so far, and they know how to advertise it. Not to mention, they've made people play it. They've had people just jump in and play it. They said, if you doubt it, just play it. No big deal. We don't care. Go ahead and check it out and give us the critiques you want. Give us everything that you want that from the game. And people played it and were like, yeah, it's that ambitious. I did all the stuff that you saw in those trailers. I did it. So it's like, that's awesome. I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad that they let people play it. I'm glad that they let people talk about it online. That's a big one too, is that they weren't afraid for people to criticize it or talk about it online because they feel very confident in the game that they built. So why wouldn't they be confident in that? Why wouldn't they let people play the game if they feel confident in it? So that's something that I think is a good mark on them. Good marketing team, good developers trying to make their game, trying to make something that is ambitious, and of course pivoting from that MMO kind of start that they had to the game and making it into a single player game because they felt that's where it best fit. So good on them. I want to see how it does. I know it comes out in March. I forgot the date exactly, but I'm really looking forward to this game. It just looks insane. It looks insane. It looks huge. It looks like a game that I'm going to just sink my teeth into, really get into, and maybe just play it for weeks on end like I did Elden Ring. Elden Ring I played for like 2 straight months. I didn't play anything else. And after that game, it ruined other games for me. It just completely ruined them. I'm like, this isn't as in-depth as Elden Ring. I don't feel as enthralled with this world. And so I think Crimson Desert has the potential to do that. The only problem is it has a lot of competition surrounding it in March, and not to mention the rest of the year. So this is one of those games that stands out, has done a good job marketing, gamers want to play it, and has a chance to be huge and successful. But Honestly, I want to know what everybody else thinks. I want to know what you think. Go down in the comment section. I want to know what gamers think about the game. Are you guys enjoying what you're seeing from it, from all these trailers and everybody talking about it? I feel like the game's getting new videos every month now or every week, where the developer is just showing us even more of the game, and it's even more impressive of how huge this world is. Are you seeing this and thinking, man, I think this might get this game day and date? And they just talked about optimizing the game. I hope this game is optimized when it comes out. That's one other thing, is I hope this game runs smoothly on not just the PC, but everywhere else it's coming out, console, no matter what. So let me know what you think. And of course, if you like the content and everything, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It helps out the channel more than you know. And you can follow me on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always posting things, talking about games on there, trying to connect with the community a little bit more out there. So follow me on there also. And like always, I always want to know what people are playing. Let me know what you're playing. I've been playing a lot of High Guard, still giving the game a shot. They put a 5v5 mode in there, which I'm actually really enjoying. It's a lot more intense. I feel like this should have been the default way of making this game. Not 3v3, it should have been 5v5 from the get-go. It just feels really good. So we'll see where that goes. And I've been playing Apex Legends because I felt like High Guard was a better advertisement for Apex Legends because I love that game. So it's weird. I went back to Apex Legends and started playing that a little bit more. So let me know what you're playing down below, because I always like to know what gamers are playing, and it gives me an idea of what I should play next. And that's all for now. And like always, until next time, enjoy your gaming. Later, everybody.